Me watch it, let's do it. And we are live. Hold on. I've already screwed up. Dude, literally, I already screwed up the banner, dude. I already screwed up the banner.
Uh-oh.
Let's give everybody a couple minutes to jump in. I appreciate everyone that has um, started off with
We got
us.
a lot in here already.
Really? Well, that is awesome. Y'all watch the comments as always. We'll take some questions. We're going to take some live Q&A at the end of this. But without any further ado, this is your 2022 THP Budget Golf Championship preview. I'm joined. I'll make some introductions here. Scooby, 45. Last time we saw Scoob, winning member of the 2021 Morgan Cup, representing Team Paradise. Is that correct? And then COVID made you a late scratch to
Very late.
a very late scratch to the Motocaddy event. The reason Scoob's here is that here shortly, here in October, I'm not going to be around to help walk the THP universe through the journey that is the Morgan Cup because I'll be there winning the Morgan Cup. Okay,
Oh, will you?
so yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Also joined. I mean, this is my compadre in crime, multiple event veteran, but the 2018 THP champion, playing on the team with SoCal Strippers. We'll get to. He came from 3 back on the Sunday to post 13 under, win by one. Illiterate is here. Say hello,
Thanks,
illiterate.
Dex. Appreciate it.
And if you don't know me myself, I have been around for a little while, multiple event veteran, including a granddaddy. Most recently, the winning captain of the 2022 rivalry by UST Mamiya, and future Morgan Cup winning captain of Team Hackers. My name is JDax, and I thank all of you for joining us. So before we get what we're gonna do, we're gonna talk about the championship. We're gonna get y'all's thoughts on a bunch of different things. But before we get into the nitty gritty, before we talk about the course or the format or the teams and what they need to do to win this thing, let's talk about the championship itself. Like, this is our community's championship. I love this event. It's one of my all time favorites. Scoob, I'll start with you. What do you think when you think of the THP Budget Golf Championship?
It's unique, right? In the THP ecosystem, the
Mhm.
two-man teams, the stroke play. I think we got 8 teams running off the first tee tomorrow.
Yep, 9
It's
o'clock.
it's like you said, the closest thing that someone can put their flag in the ground and say, "I'm a THP champion."
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
special.
absolutely. Illiterate, we both played in this thing in the same one, 2018 Talking Stick.
Well,
Um,
I've actually played in
09.
two of them. I
Okay.
played at um, down in West Palm Beach, the Bear Trap. What is the course called down there? I can't think of it right now. Played down there. That was back in, I think, 2014, maybe.
Mhm.
Was my very first event. So that was the first time I got a little bit of THP championship experience. But it is now dubbed the Budget Golf THP Championship, and we got to experience that back in 2018 at Talking Stick, and it's obviously it's a fond memory for me. Being able to win and play well. PGA National, thank you,
Yeah.
Maynard. Um, and yeah, I mean, it's like Scooby said, it's a great way to kind of stick your flag in the ground and say, hey, I'm a PHP winner. It's you and another guy against the
Mhm.
rest of the field, and you go out there and you win. You got 2 days to prove it. So yeah, it's a great one to win for sure.
Who did you win this thing with? What was the guy's name?
His name is Carl. Just a hack, and apparently he's a retired member of the THP Forum because I don't know that he's been really seen much since, but hit and run.
So you ran him off.
It wasn't me. I think it was Big Deal, actually.
Right.
I think Big Deal ran him off.
You mentioned some of the other. I mean, this is normally held at some really good golf courses. 2016 TPC Vegas, 2017 they went to Cog Hill. Remember the bloodbath at Dubstred on day one and alternate shot. We went to Talking Stick. That one wasn't so much the course, like provided a great challenge of golf. In my opinion, I thought it was more like don't die, because it was like playing off of the surface on the sun,
All
like
jokes
so
aside,
hot.
we actually almost had a guy die,
Yeah.
on the course.
I forgot that guy's name. Yes, we did. So it was like a war of attrition. Stay hydrated, you can. And then 2019 Coeur d'Alene, unbelievable course. And then after a 2-year hiatus, we're here at the Dormy Club. Let's talk about the course. A lot of times we mention the course in passing, and then we get right into the format and what needs to happen. But this course is very special. I think it's going to provide a tough stern test, and I think it sets up very well for the format that got chosen for this event. So, Scoob, I'll start with you. What are your thoughts on the course, man?
I mean, like you said, the format is so key with playing a shamble on this course, because if you can get off the tee, it looks like you want to be on the short stuff with the green complexes. I think I've heard the word devilish be used to describe the greens. And man, you really can't miss, or you better put on your scrambling pants, because it's going to be tough to get up and down.
Yes. Yeah. There's a lot of there's a lot of nuance to this course as I watched it. I wish I would have went and played with Maynard and JB about a month ago. I had a wedding, some wedding something I had to attend. I don't remember exactly what it was, but not only do you have I saw multiple multi-tiered greens. I saw holes that drivable par fours out there. I saw holes depending upon what line you took. You could lessen the difficulty of the second shot if you put it in the right place. I think that it provides equal parts ability to score and equal parts a possibility of catastrophe. Like especially on some of the key holes we'll talk about in a second. Before we get to the key holes, though, Illiterate, what is your take on this course?
So this is a really interesting course. I did spend a little bit of time this afternoon and last night, just kind of like you did, looking at the flyovers, reading the, how to play the holes. And kind of what stood out to me is that it seems like the course is fairly generous off the tee. And what I mean by that is you've got some wide fairways. However, what they've done is they've placed a premium in a lot of holes too about placement of where you are in the fairway. So depending on how far, or if you hit it to the left or right side of the fairway, you could have a blind shot into some of these holes based on, tree positions and stuff like that. There's some dog legs, not to mention we've got bent grass greens that you can use, you can get them rolling like porcelain out there.
Yep.
And they're multi-tiered. So that doesn't always make for very friendly with putting. And these greens seem to be pretty big. So you compile bent grass greens, large greens on top of that with multi-tiers, pins that can be anywhere. If you're not accurate with your distance control, putting could be a real issue for a lot of people here. So it's a second shot course, I feel like, as long as you can place yourself off the tee. But there's also a very, very big premium on putting as well that we're going to probably see out there as well.
So let's talk about some of the key holes. A lot of times as you're following along for the THP universe that's sitting at home, they'll post a score, hole 6, 5 net 4, whatever for this team, and you move on, but you don't really know what exactly, how hard was that? Was that a good net par? Was it a bad net par, et cetera? A lot of times we really don't know that from home. I would suggest any of you that are sitting here watching this, obviously you're part of the Lunatic Fringe. Obviously you're going to be following around them around the course tomorrow and Friday. let's talk about this course, some of the key holes here. I think that it starts off pretty benign. Like you get to ease into it. I mean, of course, I've never played it. Scooby, you've never played it, right? Illiterate has not either. But it feels a little benign really until even the preview video, the first 6 holes feel like, hey, there probably shouldn't be a whole lot happen here. There's a drivable par 4 on hole 3. They called 6 on the preview on their website, like the easiest hole on the golf course. So I feel like we could get the first 6 holes at least. There probably are not. Maybe the leaderboard gets stacked, or there's not going to be a whole lot of people falling back potentially because it doesn't appear that hard. Is that what y'all saw? I'll start with Scoob.
I think that's what I saw, but I think especially when you look at 3 and 6, the drivable par 4, number 3, and then number 6, the par 5, there's opportunities to score there. And so which teams are going to be able to take advantage of those scoring holes? I think 6 was described as the most benign green on the course.
Flattest green on the course.
Drive and you hit that green, all of a sudden the big bird's in play, and that could be big.
Yeah. So looking at hole 3, I mean, you've got the drivable par 4. If people want to try to take it on, they got to keep in mind the bunker, over there to the right. That's definitely probably in somebody's driver range. On that hole. I wouldn't discount hole number 5. I think it's kind of getting overlooked here a little bit with the water to carry. And the further down the right side you go, the further you got to carry the water. Obviously, the safe play off the tee there is going to be playing it down the left side. But I think that water might get some people, especially if we got some splashers out here.
Yeah, the 5th hole didn't look terribly hard, but it does narrow the closer that you get to the green, and the more aggressive line that they attempt to take there could bring a little bit more trouble into play than to play it safe. Most teams probably should play that hole safe because there's a definite birdie opportunity that's ahead of them at the par 5 6th, right?
Yeah.
So
I don't think hole 5's bad. I think it's just probably more visually intimidating for some of the guys than anything. And that's a factor.
I think that when you get into the sort of the middle of this course, right, for holes 7 through 12 is what we're going to talk about now. There could be some disaster. This is where you sort of have to hang on and survive in the middle of the round. 7 is going to play. We found out today that the par 3s are going to play from the black, right? So 7's going to play all of like 210, 208.
Yeah, it's going to be 200 to 210.
Yeah.
And I mean, this hole is a beast of a par 3. It's also the signature hole at the Dormy Club as well. Don't forget to note that. There is a bailout area to the left, but if you miss right, you're going to be in trouble. So there's definitely the misses left on that hole.
Yeah, so like it's a forced carry, right?
Yep.
Then it's guarded by like a bunker complex, and the only really safe place to dump it is like long left. It's like long
like hole high left.
Right, hole high left, which most people that long and left is not their miss. I would have no problem. We're just gonna take a hybrid and just like jack it, and if I pull the bejesus out of it or miss it, left or Walter Mondale, it's okay. Like we're just gonna chip up. We're just gonna chip up and take it from there. Dude, 8 looks like could be like it feels like you need 2 perfect shots on 8. Like it really does. And even the people that the video is saying, yeah, even if you hit the 8th fairway, you may not have the greatest second shot if you're not exactly where you need to be. Like they're even telling you this in the preview video, which leads me to believe in real life it's going to be a lot harder. Scoop, what did you think about the 8th hole?
I puckered a little bit when I watched the flyover. It's visually intimidating. You got to trust your line and trust your swing at that point.
So if you get out of 7 could be train wreckish. 8, I just said required 2 precise shots.
8 is the number 1 handicap hole. And like I say, so again, I think the teeth of the course, you kind of hit 7. It's a long par 3. which a lot of us, weekend golfers are going to struggle with a long par three. And then you get to 8, and it's the toughest hole in the course. You got a fairway that's going to slope right to left. So you definitely want to play it up the right side of the fairway. If you play it too far down the left side, there's trees there, and you might find yourself having to punch out like CPG and try to get some strokes gained that way. So it's definitely 8 is definitely going to eat some lunch.
And then the ninth looked like potential misery too. It's got the 4 bunkers that guard it and the huge false front if you come up short, right? Like you have to sort of get your distance control there. So from 7 to 9, as you're sort of finishing that front side, there's no bargain here. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, you need to have scored in this first 6 holes because you're probably going to need to, net pars are going to be really good, especially for the mid-high teams to finish that first 9. And then when you make the turn, some of I don't know, like I think that the back 9 like sort of opens it, it eases up a little bit.
Hole 10 is pretty interesting. I think it actually plays over 600 yards. So I venture to say it's probably at least a 300-yard, par 5 or 3-shot par 5 for most people.
Yeah, but you could take on the marsh and cut it. Like if you
Yes.
saw it, okay.
That's where I was going to go with 10 is, right, you make the turn. Where are you out in the competition? Are you going to try and chew off too much off the tee? And the second shot with the bunker, the nose bunker sitting right in your approach is no slouch either. Can you keep your cool and navigate that golf hole?
Yeah, when I said that it sort of eases up a little bit, if you look at 11, it's sort of a medium length par 4, should be a birdie hole. They even called it a birdie hole in the video, right? Like so most teams are going to be looking to score there. And then the 12th is the shortest hole in the course. It's going to play for them about 115 yards. It's a stock gap wedge, just
some sort of sand iron.
Right, some sort of sand iron. Somebody puts one on the green. Maybe you make a putt, and then now you've gone birdie, and you're making a move up the board. 13, longest par 4 on the course, and everything's going to feed right. So if you're a participant, you're watching, everything that goes in there is going to feed to the right.
Yep.
And then 14. Another
drivable par 4.
Yeah, so the tees from where they're going to be playing somewhere around 290. But the weird thing about this one was it looked like you have to play that hole down the left-hand side, and if the further right you got, the worse trouble it felt like from like that second shot in, from just an angle or even being able to have a clean look at the green. What did y'all see from about 10 to 14? Did I pick up everything, or I know that y'all have extensive notes, so I'll turn it over. Scoob, we'll start with you. 10 to 14.
I think 12 could be a 2-shotter, right? If you stick that sand iron close, you're looking at a birdie. But that description of the green and those greens down in North Carolina, bogey is very much a possibility from 115, I feel like, on 12.
Yeah, on 12, just to kind of piggyback off what Scooby was saying, I noted it looks like it could be a really fun hole depending on the hole location. There's the bowl that we could see some magic on, but then there's also the shelves, that we could see some really putting, some big putting carnage there. So it could be a kind of feast or famine hole for sure. 14, I noted, just kind of as a risk reward hole. And you have to hug the left side if you really want to try to get to this green. If you're short of the bunker over to the right, it's going to make for an interesting shot because you're going to have to try to just carry it over the top of that bunker, maybe like a 50-yard wedge shot where you're carrying the bunker. Not the most comfortable shot out there.
I don't disagree with any of that. Let's get, we've spent a lot of time on this course, but the finishing 3 holes could decide the championship. Right. I mean, Shamble combined score is what you're going to see. And it starts off 16 downhill, par 3, plays into a prevailing wind. And they said that you have a lot of players have a hard time getting their club selection right. They called 17 the par 5 a tribute to Hell's Half Acre. This is exactly, I wrote it down. So there's a principal nose bunker out there. There's a fairway sort of big waist area bunker if you attempt to go for this in 2 and come up short. And then it's got a multi-leveled green, multi-tiered green that you have to absolutely be on the right end of it. 18, they said that 18 required 2 very precise golf shots, and distance control would be critical on both of those shots. Dude, you could come down. Look, we've had plenty of championships come down to the last hole. Okay, 2018, Mike, you had posted a number, but Cooking with Curry had a chance on the last hole, and then they both went for the green in off the tee because they needed eagle to force a playoff, and they both went in the water. 2016, War Eagle has a par putt to force a playoff that never touches the hole on the 32nd hole. And then even in 2019, the duel in the sun between the Mounties and the in Purple Rain that came out totally to the last hole too. Right. So we could have some more fireworks here. The last 3 holes of this course set up well for it. Like you could make a run. Remember, this is combined score, and so like anything can happen when everybody's score counts, especially with some of the difficulty of the tee shot on 17 and 18. Scoob, what do you think? Last 3 holes.
I mean, to me, it's that 52-yard deep green on 18. How are you going to manage your adrenaline? How are you going to manage your distance control if you're sitting there with an iron in your hand and you got to hit the number? I think we just got some reports from the course. The greens may be rolling slow. Ooh. If that's true. Do you want a 30-yard putt on a green that's rolling a 7 or an 8? I don't know.
So I know you want to talk about the last 3 holes, but I just want to take a moment and appreciate the design on hole 15, okay? This may be one of the most impressive designs of a hole that I've ever seen. So first, you have a forced carry over the native area, which plays pretty much as a dog leg to the right, from where the tee position is. If you go too far down the left side here off the tee, you're going to have a blind approach into the green that's guarded long and short right by the green side bunkers. And the green, not only is it guarded by those bunkers, but it slopes heavily from back to front. So the placement of these 2 bunkers is absolutely impeccable from where you have to position yourself off the tee. So I don't want to discount 15. When I was reading and researching this course a little bit earlier, I just had to take a moment and appreciate 15. But to Scooby's point, going to hole 18, and this is one thing I can tell you about bent grass. We got hot temps here. It's running, 90 to 100 degrees this time of year. It's hard to control bent grass and get them running really, really fast this time of year. So that's one of the things that they're having to deal with. It's not Bermuda grass where, they thrive in the heat. You don't need a lot of water. These bent grass greens, you have to kind of baby them a little bit this time of year. So they're definitely going to be running slow, probably an 8 or 9 if I had to guess, maybe 10 if you get a little aggressive with them. But, that green, I think I noted, was like 52 yards long from depth. So to your point, you definitely don't want to have a 30-yard putt or 40-yard putt coming down the stretch when everything's on the line.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Let's talk about the format. We talked a lot about the course, man. I did not expect that segment to go.
I told you the stick man needed to give me some time.
Right. I didn't expect that. The format here is Shamble best ball on day 1, 18 holes. Day 2, they come back Shamble combined score. This is the first time that Shamble combined score has been part of an experience or an event since the one that you and I, the Ben Hogan, that where we didn't play but we were non-playing generals in that event. That second day had a Shamble combined score, which, by the way, that thing ended on the 18th hole. With a high handicap, 152 yards out, and took a max, forced a tie, lost the match. So you're never really out of it. I mean, I love this combined score. I lobbied for it on the forum. I posted about it because you're never really out of it. You could have wide swing variations in this combined score situation, and pressure gets ratcheted up especially down the stretch, if you gotta like, look, I need to put this in, especially if you're a situation where you're kind of struggling. There are places for someone that is trying to find their swing to hide a little bit when you're doing shamble best ball. There's nowhere to hide when it's a combined score.
Well, here's what I think the combined score can give an advantage to. If you have somebody that really struggles off the tee, and that's what costs them strokes. They're a decent iron player. They got an okay short game, and they putt decent. You take a 14 handicap or a 10 handicap that struggles off the tee. Suddenly they play like a 2 or 3 handicap because they've got a strong iron game or short game and putting. The rest of the game they kind of have it together, but they just really struggle putting themselves in good position off the tee, or they're losing a lot of strokes there. So the combined score, I do think, can cover up some weaknesses, just depending on what those weaknesses are. Now, I do think you're going to have to putt well. Like if you're a high handicap guy, I'd be spending time out there tonight in the morning, working those greens. Like if hey, my partner can drive the ball and they're pretty accurate off the tee, I need to try to find a way to just get the ball in the hole, plain and simple. But the 70% thing is also going to bring some of those handicaps down. It's going to have a bigger effect the higher the handicap you are.
Yeah, no doubt. Scoop, what do you think about the format?
I think it's going to be fun. I think Illiterate just covered kind of the pros and cons, and I think there was a thread on the THP forum. Is driver the bane of a 14 handicapper's existence? I think was the title. There's a couple competitors this weekend chiming in there, and I think that could play. But man, having every shot count on day 2, it's going to be a blast to watch.
Yeah, they're getting, so it's a 70% weighted. I see some comments about that. I'm gonna move tempo. So yeah, it's a 70% weighted. The average median handicap of the teams at this weighted number is 8.25. Okay. Before we get to do you think it's a bit? I'll go around the horn. Big deal, small deal, no deal. They're walking. Is it? What do you think? Scoob, we'll start with you. Big deal, small deal, no deal. They're having to walk.
Big deal if they're not prepped for North Carolina early September.
Okay. Illiterate, you go big deal.
I think it's a small deal. I think it's kind of a mixed answer. I think it's probably going to be a big deal for some people if they've never walked before. But for others, like, earlier this year, I went and played at a course that you had to walk, and it didn't bother me. I actually enjoyed it. So I think it just kind of depends on the purpose. I think some it's going to be big, some it's going to be a small deal.
I think they only walk on day. I'll check with Josh. I think they only walk the first day.
Do they?
But anyway, yeah. I don't think it's a big deal.
Small
I think
deal
it's a small
for me.
deal. I think it's a small deal. I think there'll be less alcohol consumed. Like when I walk, I don't drink nowhere near as much. Well, I'm not planning on drinking in October either because I'm going to be on a mission. But like for recreational rounds, or if you're just trying to have fun, you're not going to want to carry a bunch of beer with you. So I don't think that you'll see. It's special with the pickle team. Pickled Fizzle, they had some sort of contest where what was the higher number, their combined pro shop spend or their bar tab. I think the fact that they're walking on day 1 definitely makes the pro shop the pick there. Normally, like in a weighted situation, just to let you know, for the last several times that we've had this, even though we're coming off of a 2-year hiatus, this sort of median, a lot of times the median handicap of the teams is somewhere between 8 and 10 in most THP championships, for those of you scoring it at home.
Quick note for the walking: all the competitors, Bag Boy, Nitron, Pushcart, things lightweight.
Yeah, also I forgot to mention Bag Boy. They're in the mix here too. We'll talk about them because their team is the team that I posted as the odds-on favorite. So what are we going to do now is we're going to talk about each team, okay? And we're going to talk about what I felt like their odds were to win the thing. Y'all can chime in to tell me if I was right or wrong. Mainly what I want to hear from y'all is what do y'all feel they need to do to win this thing come Friday? Like what is the scenario for this team to be victorious. And I'll start with the favorite, Slinging Bags, Stephen Craig. They came in. I opened them at 3-1. Although, look, they didn't get a whole lot of. Only 5% of the total action is on this team. So they weren't very popular with the THP universe. But I think that this is a recipe for the type of team that wins this thing. That you have a low mid. Now, I've been getting a lot of questions of this, so let me just stop and say, okay, Dax, when you write this up, what are you talking about low? What is mid to you? What is high? Okay, so usually 7 or under. Okay, 0 to 7 I count as a low in that scenario. 8 to 15 is what I would refer to as a mid, and then 16 plus is what I'm talking about as a high. So they sort of fit a criteria that has won this thing in the past with a low mid. And that's why I opened them at 3-1. Scooby, what do you think about Slinging Bags?
And with the sponsors here, I think the question is, did they come to play? Are they going to kick their feet up and enjoy the dormy club and the niceties and work days in the Carolina Pines? Because if they came to play and brought the focus, their handicap sets them up to be right there at the end.
What do you think about them, Illiterate?
I mean, I think the question is do these guys play to their handicap? Obviously you look at them on paper, 8, 6.3. I think it's easy to place these guys as the favorite because, their games should pair pretty well together, and they're going to be able to, at single digits, you should be able to get around the course pretty well. Do we have some vanity caps here? Or are they just more on a business trip? I think it's part of why they've only got 5% of the vote or picks is, there's not a lot of people that really know much about these guys. They're not I guess, household name, so to speak.
But they do know each other, right? They're not getting off a plane, meeting each other for the first time.
No.
That happens a lot at this event, right? Very rarely do you
That's
find
an advantage.
Very rarely do you find yourself paired with someone that you've played with before, that you're friends with before. I mean, you and I lobbied to get into the 2019 thing together as a team for you to defend your championship. We didn't even get the call. This is normally a scenario where you get a low mid together that knows each other. That's why I posted them as a favorite, but the THP universe doesn't like them as from a pick standpoint. I'm sure they're great guys and whatnot. The next group, second favorite, Mirror Image. So I get a low mid here. Spicoli and Fran the Man. I won't start off first with every one of the teams. I'll go around the horn. Scoop, what are your thoughts on Mirror Image?
Word on the street is Spicoli fired a 67 at Tobacco Road today.
Makes me feel good about my pick.
That's got to make you feel good about the odds.
It does.
And the other piece that I liked is seeing some of those images on the forum. Fran the Man was rocking these slacks, which tells me he is here to play.
That makes me feel really, really good because I'm already in. They were the third most popular handle related from the THP forum. I think it was like 15% of the total action is in on Mirror Image. Illiterate, what are your thoughts on?
I mean, this was my pick from the beginning. I saw Jeff Spicoli and I said, I'm all in. I just pushed my chips to the center of the table. I remember it was the Kent Wool Kickoff Classic, I think, that Jeff and I met each other. So this was like I think it's when Maynard and I met each other, and Spicoli was out there, and he's just got a different swing. He can hit the ball, drives the ball a long way. He's accurate. He's got a good game, and he's a 1.4 that is a true 1.4. And you pair him, and with the shamble format, that's what I love about it. You pair him with a guy that's like a 14.5. I don't know much about Fran as far as like with his game, but he's going to set this guy up in some really good spots off the tee. If there's some difficult par threes and he's getting a pop and Jeff's able to hit him on the green, I mean, he's basically putting for zero, putting for a 1. on the tee there. But anyway, I mean, and Jeff's also from North Carolina, so he understands North Carolina golf. I mean, that's it's a great thing.
What's there not to like about this team, right? I love this. There's there's nothing that I don't like. They sport the lowest handicap in the field in Jeff, right? Fran, from everything that I could glean, can hit the ball a pretty decent ways. Spicoli's from North Carolina. This thing is in the heart of horseman country, right? I mean, the entire Carolinas was nothing but four horseman country. And like Scooby may not even know who the four horsemen is. He's looking at me like I'm nuts. Like, you need to look that up if you don't. I love this team. I can't say enough about them. I think we should move on. Tom Brady, 7-1. Jay Fox, and hole in one. We'll start with you.
Let me pull up my notes real quick. Tom Brady. Well, these guys are already at a disadvantage for me because for most of you that know me, I'm not a Tom Brady fan. So -1 already out of the gate. Kidding. But anyhow, guys, this is a good pairing as well. I mean, you got Jay Fox as a 4.1, pairing him with a 15.7. I mean, this is another, truthfully, another team that could do a lot of damage, especially if Jay Fox is able to play well and put hole in one in some good positions off the tee. I don't know much about hole in one's game, but I've heard and I've seen Jay Fox in some other events. But I think it's going to be good. I mean, this will be a team I think to kind of watch for. I think the kind of low high pairing or low mid pairing here is really a good thing. I love the handicap dispersion here as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's technically, when I wrote it up, it's a low high, but the high is on the lower end of that acceptable range. Like it rounds up to 16 or whatever. Scoob, what do you think about Tom Brady? I had him at 7-1. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I think you've got him in the right spot. What's really interesting to me about this team is I believe Jay Fox is the next lowest handicap behind Spicoli, and their groups are paired tomorrow if the post from a while back was to be believed. So then that brings the question when we think of what do these groups need to win? Are they going to elevate each other playing together, or is one going to train wreck the other? We'll find out.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this group needs to make a run tomorrow. Okay, so I don't like them as much in combined score as I like them tomorrow, but I think that they could be that. What is the litter doing? We're live. What did you do?
I got to plug in the battery here. Hang on.
Okay. Okay. No, I think that the format lends them to potentially get out tomorrow, get on a little bit of a run, post a really good number, and then just let the chips fall where they may. But moving right on. Are you good? Are you good, Mike?
Yeah,
Secret
I'm good
Taco. Secret Taco, I have them here at 7-1. Most popular team amongst the THP universe. 30% of the total action is on Secret Taco. Okay, so roughly a third of the THP universe is on the taco train. Scoob, we'll start with you on this because you probably have a little bit to say about this team and this pairing.
I do. I'm fortunate enough. I've played golf with both of these fine gentlemen. Starting with Ichiko, the guy knows how to win trophies in the THP universe. My Morgan Cup brother last year, he's a bulldog when it comes to play. The Arizona THP guys in the league, he was the one that took down the league title last year. I know he's been grinding, but he's from out west, and North Carolina isn't desert golf, and some early returns from the early rounds it's been a bit of an adjustment. So hopefully my guy can turn it on. But I think he had a 20-yard putt, and he allegedly was going to bring out wedge today, is what my sources are telling me.
Whew. Ichiko, I mean, look, I'm not worried about him walking. I'm not worried about him wilting in the North Carolina heat. I saw his calves last year. I saw them calves. Okay. That's an impressive set of calves on him, man. Illiterate, what do you think about Secret Taco?
I know Golfers Anonymous. I went to the Granddaddy reunion stuff a couple weeks back, and got to know him a little bit. He's got a great game, and he can certainly play to that almost 15 handicap as well. So he's very dangerous. I mean, I think the one thing that's lost in a lot of these handicapped events is the 12 to 15 handicapper is so dangerous. Because they have the ability to put together holes like that where they look like a 5, but then they have the hole or two where they look like a 25. So again, I think if Chino here can kind of make the adjustment to that North Carolina golf, because it's a lot different from out west, and show up and play, I think that this is another team that's got a really good opportunity to win here.
I mean, is anyone concerned that he wanted to sell his clubs on eBay yesterday?
Nah, he's a drama queen. He'll be fine.
Okay.
How many times have you and I talked about post round that we're going to, have a short sell in the parking lot of our clubs, only to go out the next day and fire almost a personal best?
Right, I've done it from the cart. If you remember that one time when I called, remember that time I caught the Shanks, and I was like, I'm done with this game, and I'm going to sell my clubs from the golf cart, and you talked me out of it.
Yes.
And Golfers Anonymous. Look, I think Golfers Anonymous is the important person here. Especially, I think that this is look. I love these low mids, right? And I think that they'll be around at the end of the day one, and I think that it's gonna be sort of like Golfers Anonymous gets hot if they're gonna stay this thing in combined score if they're gonna make 30% of the THP universe happy come Friday night. It's gonna be Golfers Anonymous making some of his strokes count in that combined score stanza in order to get them toward the top of the leaderboard, and make the 30% of the people that are in on them happy.
He's been grinding, and the other thing I love is he is in love with his putter this summer, and that can matter.
Putting's going to matter out here.
So let's talk about double dickas. This is the first of a grouping where you find yourself with, sort of mid highs, right? Legalized mulligans. Steve, 2100. An 8 and a 17 go out together. This is sort of the lower end of the variance because because your mid is around an 8, and you're not going to see that from the rest of these sort of mid highs that sort of group together. There's a very specific recipe for most of these groups that we're going to be talking about, from double dickas to first and fun, to stay in this thing. The first thing is that they have to make their strokes count tomorrow and get themselves in position near the top of that leaderboard. And then it's sort of, can you get out of these things where you're making net pars in the combined score and you're not having these huge fluctuations or these huge swings on some of the harder holes on the course? And if you can do all of that, then you can get to these final 3 holes with a chance, and then there's the par 5 17th that could set up for a massive amount of drama. I'm already getting excited about it. This is what they would have to do here. Double dickas has got to do just that. Scooby, what do you think? What do you think they need to do?
I think you're spot on. And Steve is another one that was in that thread earlier, a couple of weeks back when it was popping about driver as the bane of his existence. A little bit hot cold, but if legalized mulligans can put them in the fairway, they're going to need that and use the pops and try and make a run. That's the path.
Illiterate, what you got on this one? On double dickas.
I mean, this is another one too. It's interesting. You got a little bit of a higher handicap there at 17, and somebody around an 8 that's kind of where I play. So I kind of get that. Thinking about myself, I struggle more off the tee. My iron play and short game is pretty solid. Tee game is what a lot of times costs me strokes. If legalized mulligans, if he's a solid tee player, then hey, he's going to put Steve in some good spots and make him comfortable out there. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, it's when you talk about the format, the day one, just the shamble, best ball. it takes a little bit of pressure off everybody. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could see some 3, 4, 5 shot swings a hole, depending on how some of these holes play out, on day 2. So I know we're putting a lot of stock into day 1, but really, day 2, I mean, we're going to see carnage.
There may be blood. Let's talk about Pickled Fizzle, because they are the second most popular pick amongst the THP universe. Close to 20%, or a little over 20% of the handle is in on them. Very popular team. That they've been around for a while. They have experience, which both of them have experience, which I don't want to discount. I think that in this type of scenario, it could be extremely important. I think this is the type of team that needs to make some hay. I think the reason we're talking about so much tomorrow is that I do think that it's going to be hard for some of these mid highs to make runs on the second day. I would rather them have some strokes, sort of banked and then sort of get to the point in the second day where they're trying to grind out pars to where they're not giving up these big swings. I think that you're right. We'll start with you about Pickled Fizzle, though.
Well, again, these are 2 guys I both know. Had the opportunity to play with both of them and see them both swing. And, they got to play together just a few weeks ago. So they're not coming in like, handshakes, how are you? Good to meet you, off the airplane or anything like that. Dill is probably one of the most fun guys you can play with. And I would say probably the downfall for him is tee game and putting. The rest of his game is pretty solid overall. But I know he's been grinding quite a bit, and, he's ready to turn some heads. And, Fizzle's a good, solid 10 handicap. I mean, he's going to put him in some good positions off the tee. He's a decent putter. And, this is another team. I think a lot of people know the guys, so they're popular amongst the THP universe. And, if they play well, they're going to have a chance. But it really is. It's going to come down to day 2.
Scoob, thoughts on Pickled Fizzle?
I think, like you were talking about a moment ago, how well can they play off each other in day 1 to bank the strokes that I think they might need on day 2?
Yeah, I mean, I think that my only concern with them, and this is why they went off at 14-1, was could one of them hold up off the tee at this golf course that requires, in some cases, some very precise tee shots to score? Okay. And if you don't, even if you're getting pops at this place and you don't put yourself in the right position off the tee, you're just throwing the pop away, right? You have to make hay on these holes where you're getting strokes. If you're in these mid highs, right? And if you find trouble off the tee, then this is why you were getting a pop to begin with, I guess would be what someone would say. But you have to figure out a way of, on these holes, catching lightning in a bottle and putting the ball in the right place. And that's what concerned me about them. 16-1, commanding Wookiees. Dackerson. We last saw him, I guess, at the Edel event. And then T. Wright and a couple of numbers, 971. Can I go on a mini rant about these people with the names, with the numbers again? I can't stand
hot take
it.
from
Right.
J-Dax.
I cannot. I've hot tagged myself about this. God, change your name. Lose the numbers. Okay.
That hurts.
Scoob. I mean, you should just be Scoob, not Scoob 45. Just Scoob. What's your take? What is your take on the Wookiees here?
Love the name. They almost sold me for the pick from the name alone and the Star Wars tie-ins. I think it's that same the same story. Not to be a broken record with the mid-high pairings, what they need to do. I think what I'm interested in. You mentioned Dackerson. We last saw at the Edel event. Those irons came in about a week ago. They're in play.
They did. They are.
Are they dialed in? Is it honeymoon period?
Yeah.
We're going to find out.
Yes, we are illiterate Wookiees.
I mean, I think we've said a lot kind of about these mid-high pairings, and I don't know a ton about these guys' game, but, if you're a 20 handicap, I venture to say you probably struggle a little bit with hitting greens, getting off the tee, and short game. And, short game is definitely something that you're going to have here. If, Scoob, you kind of mentioned, that new irons for Datkinson. That's not going to, if he can put them in good positions off the tee, I think it's going to really help bring that 20 handicap down quite a bit. But, again, we're playing at a 70% cap, so it's going to take some of that off anyway.
I think that T. Wright has been working pretty hard. If I look through some of his post history, I think a lot of these highs have been grinding. Dill, T. Wright, Steve, 2100. I hate the number, Steve. Can we come up with something else? Maybe at the end of this we'll be calling Steve champion. He can drop the 2100 and we'll just say Steve THP champion be his new name. Let's get to the last of the my man, Josh. I mean, look, Josh has played great. When I say Josh, JB, form names only, pal. He's played great. He's played great at the events. I mean, I know that there was some talk that maybe you had to carry him through Shamble at Bluegrass.
Now, here's what I'll say about JB's game. JB, as long as he sticks to the short driver, he's going to be great off the tee for you. And again, the worst part of my game, or the part that I struggle with the most, is off the tee. So JB put us in a lot of good spots. I made some good putts. Probably where JB struggles the most is putting. But typically speaking, I mean, he's got a pretty solid iron game. And if he sticks with the short driver, I think he's going to put him and Ryan in some really great spots out there. He's also got course knowledge. He's played this course before, so he's going to know how to get around the course. Ryan coming in as a 25 handicap, he's going to have to use those pops wisely, so to speak.
Scoob, what do you think about First and Fun?
I think you all covered a lot of it. I think for me, are they going to embrace the name First and Fun? Because I think back to some of my better rounds. It's when I'm comfortable. I'm relaxed. I'm having a good time. We're just playing golf. It's just golf, baby. And if they can get in that mindset, they could be there.
Yeah, I think, look, Josh is a pretty accurate person off the tee, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen him hit plenty of fairways, especially. He's got the two drivers in the bag. Zexia, it could be a weapon here. It's not egregiously long, so Josh probably seeing what he probably lets Liberty hit first, and then if that doesn't happen, here comes the second driver, and it's just rinse and repeat, fairways, fairways, fairways. And if they hit a bunch of fairways, just like any of these mid highs, watch out, because now we need a second shot. In a lot of cases, there could be pops that could be happening. I don't think that they'd be totally out of the question for them to play themselves deep into the mix on Friday. All right, so that brings us to the conclusion. We talked about every team who had a chance to win. I know that we have some people watching live. Does anyone have any questions for us in the THP universe? Anybody want?
Yeah, Granite Roost just kind of said something in the chat. He said, I've never played with JB. He's got to be a fun partner. JB is the guy, like when you play with him as a partner, he's definitely fun to play with, but he's never out of a hole because he never puts himself in a lot of danger. So for Ryan, I mean, that's got to be a lot of just reassurance and stability for him kind of coming into this. And I think JB probably is better than a 9.3. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying sandbag, but, he's definitely better than a 9.3, I think.
It looks like the carts may be lost. Maybe they don't. Maybe they won't be walking if those carts don't get there.
JB and Ryan are going to be in a cart. They're the one pair that'll be in a cart day one. Everyone else has their nitrons and will be walking.
Okay. So okay. Is that an advantage, disadvantage, big deal, small deal, no deal?
No deal for me.
Nah, it doesn't matter.
I don't think it's that big of a deal. Anybody have any questions before we close this down and get to our picks?
JB has the rope hook me, Jesus. Never count him out.
Okay, I like that. All right. Fox said there's some really bad self-service that they'll do their best to keep us posted on every hole.
Best hole for one club challenge. Jesus, Dennis.
I mean, Best hole for one club challenge. I like the what is that short, the 12.
Yeah, the 115-yard par
Yeah,
three.
give me
There
my
we go.
gap. Give me my gap wedge. Um. Okay. I mean, we don't have that many people watching.
I told
Maybe we answer other questions.
Pumba was texting me earlier. I said, ask us some questions. So fire away.
I'm looking. But you don't look if you're in this business, you don't like a lot of dead air. So let's get to the picks. Scoob, who is your pick?
On the spot first.
Who is your pick and why?
My pick, under the notes, Secret Taco. I know Ichiko is a winner, and I know Golfers has been grinding, and frankly, they sent me stickers.
Okay.
Who
I didn't
comes
get
in last?
Hawk wants to know who comes in last. I'll go first and fun. The first and fun, but last in the event. Illiterate, your pick.
So my pick to win this, again, I touched on it earlier. I touched on it on the forum, but mirror image. I really like these guys. I think Spicoli is steady enough, and he's a good enough golfer to help he's not going to put up a lot of big numbers out there. And I think he's going to position Fran in some really good spots. I heard Fran's got a good tee game. So this could be a good recipe if they're able to bring it tomorrow and kind of set them up in a good position to finish strong on Sunday. But Sunday's where it's going to be won in the combined score, no doubt.
Look, I also liked mirror image. I already said that. I already posted it. But I think that in the past we've seen this thing sort of like 2016. It was really sort of a two-man race, where two teams sort of duked it out after the end of the Saturday sesh. 2017, Swedish Tiger went out there after the bloodbath, shot even par on the second day, sort of ran away and hid. They were 3 shots clear. Mike, you, because of a flight situation, you started the Sunday, the second day. You started the day 3 back of Cooking with Curry and ended up winning 2 clear of them in 1 clear Deep Dish Mountain, if you remember. So, and then in 2019, again, Purple Rain in the Mounties, the lead changed on the back 9 on 4 separate occasions, with the Mounties winning by 1 stroke. I think that we could have another situation here where this course, the format, the whole 9 yards set up to where we could have a phenomenal finish, just like all of those other THP championships in the past that I mentioned. Other teams to look at, look out for Taco if things start working right, and then in Pickled Fizzle also. Look, we didn't talk. I think that if Slinging Bags, if those caps travel and they're not on a business trip, I think that they'll be right there in the mix the rest of the way. But my official pick is Mirrored Image. So we'll go around the horn for final thoughts in the last 60 to 90 seconds. Scoob, this is your first go with doing this with us. What are your final thoughts?
Well, first off, thank you for the opportunity, and a call out to JJ Sports to help me win that bet last year. And we can talk more about that off air, but I think it's going to be a great finish come Friday. I don't think it's just going to be a 2-team duel. I think there's enough probabilities that we could have 3 or 4 teams in the mix coming on the back 9 day 2.
Illiterate. Final thoughts,
Yeah,
from the 2018 THP champion.
So first, Scoob, great job tonight. Appreciate you joining us, man. And it's nice to meet you officially on air tonight. In regards to the event, day 2 is really going to we're going to see potentially like 4, 5, 6 shot swings on holes, depending on if people don't get off the tee, they put themselves in a bad position. So, I mean, I don't know that you can really say that anybody's going to be out of this thing when we get around to, the back 9 on Friday at all. So this is really going to come down to day 2, and it's going to be, there's going to be some carnage for sure. I don't think anybody's going to run away with this thing.
Here are my final thoughts. Any of the teams, the participants do not give up. This format sets itself up for massive swings. Okay, so don't get down on yourself if things don't start off well. But just stay within it, because you never know what could happen ahead of you, and all of a sudden you find yourself back in the thick of this thing. It's going to be super fun. THP Universe, I know it's a weekday event, but let's get in there and support these guys. Okay, I'm going to be there. I move some things around, move some calls around tomorrow. I'm going to be sweating them out. Okay, I expect y'all to do the same. For Illiterate and Scooby, this has been JDax, and we are out.